Black America. John Lewis here again with Xknown, and I'm just welcoming you to the episode 4 of Xcast, Voices of the Unforgotten. And today we'll be talking about Lewis Latimer, born in the shadow of slavery, a mind made for light. So let's go ahead and hop right into episode 4. Imagine growing up in a world lit by candles and gas lamps, daring to dream about something brighter. Lewis Howard Latimer was born in 1848 in Chelsea, Massachusetts. He was the youngest child of Rebecca and George Latimer, two people who had already done something extraordinary before he ever took a breath. They escaped slavery. His father, George, had fled enslavement in Virginia and made his way north. When his enslaver tried to have him captured and sent back, black communities and white abolitionists in Boston rallied. They raised money, they organized protests, they fought in court. The case became famous, and George Latimer eventually won his freedom. So from the beginning, Lewis grew up in a house built not on comfort, but on courage. He grew up hearing stories about chains and escape, risk and resistance, and a father who refused to stay owned. But freedom didn't magically make life easy. The Latimer family struggled with money. They struggled with racism. They struggled with the daily grind of survival in a country that still treated black people as less than human. And when Lewis was still a boy, his father disappeared from his life. Some accounts say George fled again, fearing recapture. Others say the pressure and poverty pushed him away. Either way, Lewis grew up in a home marked by absence as well as sacrifice. By his early teens, school was no longer an option. Lewis had to work. At 16, when the Civil War broke out, Lewis did something bold. He lied about his age. He enlisted in the U.S. Navy, claiming to be older than he really was, because he wanted to earn money and help his family survive. He served on a Union ship, not as an officer, not as a celebrated hero in the history books, but as a young black sailor doing his duty in a nation tearing itself apart. After the war, he returned to Boston with almost nothing. No wealth, no property, no formal degree. But he did have something the system could not track or limit. He had talent. Lewis got a job as an office boy in a patent law firm. It was the kind of job most people ignored, running errands, sharpening pencils, cleaning desks. But Lewis paid attention. Day after day, he watched inventors come in with their ideas. He watched skilled draftsmen sit at tall tables and turn rough sketches into clean, precise drawings that could become legal patents. Those drawings were the difference between an idea that faded and an invention that the law would protect. And in quiet moments, Lewis began to teach himself how to draw them. He studied lines, curves, and measurements. He practiced perspective and proportion. He filled scrap paper with technical sketches. Eventually, the firm's partners noticed. They didn't expect brilliance from a black office boy, but brilliance showed up anyway. Recognizing his talent, they promoted him to draftsman, a high skill, better paid position that very few black people were ever allowed to hold at that time. Lewis Latimer had found his doorway into the world of invention. In 1876, an opportunity arrived that would quietly place Lewis at the edge of a global revolution. An inventor named Alexander Graham Bell needed patent drawings, fast. Bell was racing against competitors to file his design for a new device, the telephone. Every hour mattered. Every delay was a risk. Lewis Latimer was assigned to prepare the drawings. He worked with urgency and precision, translating Bell's rough concepts into clear, legally exact illustrations. Those drawings went into the patent filing that helped secure one of the most important inventions in modern communication. You will see Bell's name in every history book. You will almost never see Lewis Latimer's. But without Lewis's steady hand and sharp eye, The legal protection for that idea might not have reached the patent office in time. He was in the room where the future was being drawn, even if history kept him at the margins of the page. In the late 1800s, the world was hungry for light. Streets were dim. Houses were lit by candles and oil lamps that smoked, flickered, and burned down easily. Fire was a constant risk. Nights were heavy and dangerous. Inventors all over the world were searching for a safer, more reliable way to light homes, factories, and cities. This is where Lewis Latimer stepped into history, not as a bystander, but as a builder. He joined a company led by Hiram Maxim, one of Thomas Edison's biggest competitors in the race to perfect electric lighting. Both teams were trying to solve the same core problem. How do you make a light bulb last? Early bulbs burned out quickly. The filaments, the tiny wires inside the bulb that glow when electricity passes through, were fragile and short-lived. Lewis studied the problem like an engineer and an artist combined. He experimented with materials. He examined filaments under stress. He thought about how to make light not just possible, but practical. In 1881, he patented an improved method for producing carbon filaments. That invention made light bulbs last longer, work more efficiently, and become cheaper to produce. And that changed everything. Electric light stopped being a fragile demonstration in the lab and started to become something regular people could actually use in their homes. Lewis did not just help build light bulbs, he wrote the book on them, literally. In 1890, he published a technical book called Incandescent Electric Lighting, a practical description of the Edison system. This was not light reading. It was a serious, detailed guide to how electric lighting worked, how to install it, and how to maintain it safely. Think about how wild that is. A black man, born to formerly enslaved parents, was now explaining one of the most advanced technologies in the world in writing to engineers, electricians, and companies. He became a chief draftsman and an expert at Edison's company. He supervised installation projects. He helped bring electric light to major cities, including parts of New York, Philadelphia, Montreal, and London. When people flipped the switch and their rooms glowed for the first time, Lewis's work was in that moment, even if his name was not. Lewis's mind did not stop at one invention. He also worked on improvements to bathroom fixtures, designs for a better trained car toilet, an early air conditioning device meant to cool and freshen indoor air, new ways to organize and secure drawings and documents. He thought constantly about comfort, safety, and practical details that made everyday life better. Inside Edison's organization, Lewis was often the only black man in the room doing high-level technical work. He reviewed blueprints, corrected mistakes, and trained younger draftsmen. He understood not just the science of electricity, but the art of explaining it clearly. And still, he had to navigate a world that did not expect genius from someone who looked like him. He could design systems that lit entire neighborhoods, but he still had to walk through a country that dimmed his humanity. Yet he refused to let bitterness shrink his vision. Instead, he poured his energy into mentoring others, into making technology understandable, and into proving by quiet excellence what the world refused to say out loud. Black brilliance was not the exception. It was the rule, whenever it was allowed to breathe. Lewis Latimer was more than an inventor and draftsman. He was also a poet, a musician, a husband and father, a man of faith and reflection. He wrote verses about hope and struggle. He played the flute. He painted. He spent evenings with his family in Astoria, Queens, thinking not just about the machines of the future, but about the kind of world his people deserve to live in. He had seen his father's freedom debated like a legal puzzle. He had watched his own talent questioned because of the color of his skin. He had served a nation at war, then helped wire that same nation for light. And still, for the most part, the history books left him in the shadows. We live in a world that remembers certain inventors as lone geniuses. Edison, Bell, Tesla. But the truth has always been more crowded. The labs, offices, and workspaces were filled with people whose names never made it to the headlines. Draftsmen, experimenters, tinkerers, craftsmen, quiet problem solvers like Lewis Latimer. Add race to that picture, and the chances of being remembered grew even smaller. Lewis's story makes people uncomfortable because it forces us to admit that Black people helped build a modern world in ways we rarely acknowledge. Some of the most important technological breakthroughs were team efforts, not solo miracles. Credit is not just about contribution, it's about who controls the story. Lewis Latimer's life teaches that brilliance is not always loud. Sometimes it looks like a young man teaching himself to draw in the corner of an office, a sailor studying diagrams after long days of service, a draftsman rewriting and redrawing until the lines are perfect, a Black engineer explaining electric light to a world that still saw him as second class. He didn't own a company empire. He didn't become a millionaire. And he didn't get the glory he deserved. But he changed what was possible for everyone who came after him. Every time a light switches on in a room, part of his legacy walks back into the present. See, Lewis belongs in this series because of our story, the story of Xknown. Because it's not just about pain and resistance. It's about creativity, intelligence, unrecognized excellence, Black hands and Black minds shaping the future, even when the present refused to see them. He shows that we have never just been passengers in history. We have been engineers of it. And when we say his name now, we are doing the work so many textbooks refuse to do. We are turning the light back on to the person who helped make light possible. We're saying that the story of invention is not complete until it includes the Black minds who drew the blueprints, tightened the bolts, and wrote the manuals. We're claiming him openly as part of our inheritance. So again, go to Xknown.com right now. Read that mission statement. Look through the Share the Knowledge page. Copy and repost that link because it's on us to do it. They won't. Again, go to Xknown.com, read the mission statement. Look through the Share the Knowledge page. Copy and repost that link because it's on us to share it because they won't. And wear the legacy. Let people ask you what the crest means and tell them. Tell them about Lewis Latimer. Tell them about how he helped bring electric light into ordinary homes. Tell them how his genius was dimmed in the books but not in reality. Tell them why he matters. Tell them we won't forget, because this is Xknown for the people they tried to erase but couldn't.